So it's pretty much no surprise that when it comes to buying photography and video gear, lenses is probably one of the priciest items on the list, but getting the most out of your lenses can really be beneficial, especially just by adding on one little accessory. What's good, creative fan? Brandon Washington here. First of all, if you're brand new to the channel, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button because this channel is all about filmmaking gear, tips, and tutorials. But today, I actually had quite a bit of free time, which doesn't happen very regularly. And so I decided to take that time out and actually go and test the brand new Sandmarc hybrid filters. Now, if you don't know what filters are those little things that you've probably seen people screw onto the front of their lenses, which really help them to dial in their shots just the way they like. Now, I personally have been using a variable ND filter and circular polarizers for quite a while. In fact, I pretty much use all Tiffin filters. So this is my little Tiffin filter case, and in here you're gonna find my variable ND filter, along with I have my circular polarizer right here. And I have a bunch of step up and step down rings, so that way I can actually make those filters work on pretty much every lens that I own. But the problem with this here is like ND filters, if you don't know, are kind of like sunglasses for your lens, and polarizers are really good for cutting out, you know, those reflections that you see on the water or those reflections you see in windows. But what happens if you kind of need both? Like, for example, if you wanted to do long exposure and you wanted to be able to cut out some of those reflections on the water, well, that's where these hybrid filters really would come into play. And so Sandmarc kind of created this whole kind of brand new, I really don't know of any other ones that kind of do this, but they kind of created this brand new style of filter that allows you to have basically the best of both worlds. Now, typically when I get new products in, I like to go out, test them out, shoot with them a little bit, just so I can give you guys kind of my insights. So that's what I decided to do. And because we're on this whole creative discovery, this creative journey, this challenge of posting every single day, I decided I'm going to take you guys along with me while I go out and actually test out these brand new filters, basically straight out of the box. All right, so now I'm actually out here at this little golf course that's not too far away from my house with the Canon EOS R, and I've got the set of Sandmarc hybrid filters. Now the reason why they call them hybrid filters is because they not only have a really good like ND aspect to them, but they also are polarizers, which I'm really excited to actually kind of check that out. So I've come over to this golf course because there's a lot of water around here, and water along with windows are one of those areas where you really want to use a polarizer because it helps get rid of reflections. A lot of the times what we see on water is pretty much just a reflection of the sky, so you're not really going to get that smooth look, but this will help not only with that, but also help cut down a lot of the light. So let's go ahead and throw this on this lens here and see what we can get. So I've been out here shooting with the camera and the Sandmarc lenses for a little while, and kind of my first impressions are that having the circular polarizer built into it has been really interesting. So I have a ND filter and I have a circular polarizer, but I've never had one where they're combined. And the benefits of having them more combined is really when you get into things like long exposure. I think that's primarily where something like this really comes in handy. I've been doing a lot of long exposure shots here at the water, and obviously this isn't like, you know, the most immaculate location, but I've been able to actually get some really cool shots. Now, obviously they are not magic. So if you are shooting directly down, you know, basically where the sun is, you're still gonna get some light into your shots. It's not able to completely get rid of all reflections. You're still gonna get some, especially in those high, like those really harsh areas. But if you're smart about how you shoot, you can really get rid of a lot of the reflections. And as I kind of turn the circular polarizer to see the difference, it's really kind of amazing how much of the reflection it's actually able to cut out. So the kit that it comes with a ND 16, 32, and 64. So if you're trying to figure out like how much light it's actually gonna cut out, that's pretty much the best way to base it. You know, I have the Tiffin variable ND filter, and I've been really used to using variable. So that way I don't have to carry around as many ND filters at once. But I will say that it is nice to be able to have, like, you know, different ND filters and not have such a big bulky ND filter. But it is one more thing, or I guess two more things I actually have to carry around. But I'm gonna get out of here now so I can go back and actually take a look at some of these shots, edit them up a little bit, and then kind of tell you guys my final thoughts on this thing. All right, so after going out and shooting with these guys, I have to say that, first of all, as far as quality goes, these are really good filters, and I like this little case that they come in. So as I said before, you do get 3 different filters, and so there's a nice pocket for all 3, and the quality of the glass that they've used is really good. The build quality and all that's really great, but most importantly, what do the images look like? So I've gotten a chance to kind of sit down and edit all of the images up, and here's basically kind of what my assumptions come out to be. This is a awesome product if you shoot like nature or landscapes or you know, waterfalls, that kind of thing. The mixture of polarizer and ND really comes in handy when you're doing things like long exposure. You know, the ability to shoot long exposure on water really helps kind of cut out some of the choppiness that water tends to have. But also, the other thing that you are able to get with this is the ability to kind of cut out that reflection. As you can see in like these 2 photos right here, you can definitely see how by just turning the circular polarizer to kind of cut out some of that reflection, it is super handy. Now, the one thing I will say is that these ND filter or these hybrid filters are not marked, so you kind of have to just keep turning them until you figure out, like, you know, where the reflections start to kind of get cut out. And I guess that's just gonna be variant based off photo. I'm not really 100% sure. I don't have a ton of experience with using, you know, polarizer in this type of a scenario, but I will say that with them not being marked, it does make it a little more difficult. So I did find that there were times where I would take a photo, check it, turn it, take another photo, and really see if it got better or worse. All in all, I think that these are some really awesome filters. The only kind of drawback that I still kind of go with is the fact that they are, and this is just my personal preference, they are not variable ND filters. Now I know there are some photographers and videographers who hate variable ND filters because they think that there's color shift and that they deal with, you know, all these other issues, but I personally love variable ND filters for the pure fact of I don't have to keep taking filters on and off my camera if the sun is coming in and out of the clouds like it was on this day that I was shooting. Because it was such a cloudy day and the sun was kind of peeking in and out behind, I kept finding myself switching back and forth between the 32 and the 64 ND filters, and honestly the 16, I pretty much never even took it out of the plastic because I knew it was already just way too bright to use that type of ND to get a decent long exposure. If you are someone who is looking at doing wildlife and nature photography, you know, landscapes, that kind of thing, this is definitely a kit I would strongly recommend for you. Again, shooting long exposures with having some, you know, polarizing aspects to it, especially when shooting water. This is a huge benefit. However, if you are someone who's not really doing those things, but you are looking for filters, then honestly, I think just picking up a decent variable ND filter and maybe even a polarizer on its own is probably a good solution. As great as these filters are, I don't think they are for everyone, but I do think that if you are looking into trying to up your lens game and up your quality and really just dialing your shots exactly the way you want them to be, you should definitely get into filters and learn how to use them. If you have questions on how to use filters or you want to see me make a video on those in the future, definitely leave those in the comments down below. But check out these filters. Check out also down below, I'll have links to the other filters that I use, like my variable ND filter from Tiffin and also my circular polarizer one, and also the case that I use to carry everything. I'll have links to all that down below. But thank you guys so much for checking out this video. If you have any other questions, you know what to do, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.